Woo. All right, y'all can join so I can let y'all introduce yourself. We're gonna start over. All right, let me add James and Kayla. All right, good. All right, Kayla. Now you can introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Kit.
Wait, look. I'm gonna do it first. Hello, y'all. I'm the assistant executive director for Let's Start Baltimore, and I'm here today with the Gun Violence Committee. Personal James.
Hello, executive the gun violence peer to peer, and my name is Pierce, and I'm going to pass it over to Kayla.
Hi, guys. My name is Kayla, and I am a part of the Gun Violence Committee.
And then I'm about to add Corey so he can introduce himself as well. Okay, Corey, you can introduce yourself now.
Yeah, sorry. My name is Untitled. I'm a youth ambassador for Let's Start Baltimore, as well as the treasurer for the Gun Violence Committee.
All right, now I'm about to play the video, y'all.
You want us to leave?
No, y'all don't have to. I can actually just turn my camera around while we watch the video. Can y'all hear?
40 children. I'm in the second grade now, so kids tease it because they're gone. With one thing in common. I wish that my mother could see it right now. Their parent was murdered. Together on stage here in Baltimore, wearing their pain, wiping away tears while sharing their grief.
I want to hear my mother's voice. I want to be there.
Winter Martin is 10 years old. Her mother, Tyreka, was murdered in a triple homicide in Baltimore back in 2013, leaving her and her little sister, Tyja, without a mother.
You wish they never made guns?
The girl's grandmother witnesses the daily impact life without a mother can bring.
Winter more so, it affected her behavior. Like, she just ached out.
Losing her mother made Winter an orphan. Her father was murdered a few years prior to her mother's death.
And then we did her. It's not fair.
That's the message behind today's event, put on by a local nonprofit, No One Left Unhelped, bringing awareness and creating a safe space for children to express their grief.
Because some of them, they fight in school, they get violent because of what they're going through. So this is a form of therapy for them to express how they're feeling in a positive way.
As for Winter, she has this message for those causing violence here in Baltimore.
Put the guns down.
One parent attending the event echoed that very message. This is the mother of Taylor Hayes, the 7-year-old girl who was shot while riding in a car in West Baltimore and died 2 weeks later. Together, parents and children pleading for the city to stop the violence.
Me, my sister, and my mother, we were playing board games, and the news came on, and I heard that the 3 people got shot, and the 1-year-old baby got shot. I just don't want them to kill nobody. I wish this is never really real. All our youth is getting hurt behind it.
A group of Baltimore kids with a local nonprofit are leading a community effort to honor victims of gun violence. They're building a memory garden in the Harlem Park neighborhood. WMAR 2 News' Ray Strickland joins us live in Baltimore. And Ray, why was it so important to these kids to start this project?
Yeah, Aaron, these kids were inspired to do this project because they have also lost family members, in some cases a parent due to gun violence. They wanted to create this garden to help kids like them deal with the trauma and to also begin a process of healing. Want to cut all the grass. Lisa Moloch is the founder of Let's Thrive Baltimore. Her program, called Youth in Action, is behind the project that will transform this Harlem Park community garden into a sanctuary for family members who've lost loved ones to gun violence. We even have youth that have lost both parents to gun violence in this community. The nonprofit recently received funding through Philanthropy Tank, a Florida-based nonprofit, to create a vibrant community space where kids and adults can go to cope with their pain and start a process of healing. It's a place for them to focus on their trauma, to do meditation, to do yoga. We will do these type of activities here to help them with their trauma and to help them recover. The group, with help from volunteers, will begin renovating the space on Saturday. It will include what's called a memory garden to honor victims of gun violence. The stepping stones will have their loved one's name on it with a personalized message for them.
When I first heard that my dad died, it really hit hard to like my whole family.
Devin Jones is helping lead the project. Her father was killed in 2016. She says she wanted to be a part of this to help other kids like her cope with their loss. Jones says it will also give her comfort knowing her dad will have a stepping stone of his own.
I think it's really cool that my dad will be remembered by so many people.
For Moloch, this is not only the start of healing this community, but the beginning of her mission to bring more memory gardens to the city of Baltimore. And when you show the community that someone cares for the community, statistically it's shown that it will reduce crime in that area. We need Baltimore to heal because there's so much violence going on in Baltimore City.
Pass it back one of you, James.
It's more to the video.
With a fresh cut, the start of a community growing together, remembering victims of gun violence through a garden.
She'd be real happy.
Volunteer Denia Burgess remembers her sister, Tyreka, the pain of her death 8 years ago, her life embodied through flowers planted in new soil.
I came down here today to keep my sister's name alive, not so that her daughters won't forget her and everybody else around us.
And while many flowers are planted at the Memorial Garden today, the cornerstone of it all is the 50 stepping stones, remembering lost loved ones. Etched into the stones, the names of Tyreka and victims forever loved. The volunteers, mostly young students, will maintain the garden and its sanctuary.
To be able to have a space that they can call their own.
And with city leaders' support, the garden offers a place to reflect and to heal.
I will actually sit around by myself and just think about my sister.
A blooming community hoping an end to the violence, remembering loved ones in a new memory garden.
All right, we have a few questions for you guys today. The first question for me is, how did that video make you guys feel? I'm going to go first, then Kayla, then Kari, I guess how y'all can go. And then the audience, put your answers in the chat of how did that video make you feel. This video made me feel really sad. I'm actually the one who edited this video, so I watched it like more than once. It was just very upsetting to hear the same thing over and over. And the more I heard it, the more it just hurt my heart. And I'm blessed that I wasn't a part of it.
Okay. This video made me feel mad, like sad and happy, because it made me feel sad because things like this is happening, and then it made me feel happy because we making a change. We can make a change now too.
I agree.
Yeah,
Carrie said,
I agree.
go ahead, Carrie, you can go.
Sorry, you can go back. No, I was just gonna say I agree with what Kayla said. It also made me feel hopeful that that there's like a lot of people like not just us that are fighting for a good cause. There are other people that care and want to see this city get better. So yeah, I agree with what Kayla said.
I agree. Kayla said that video. Price said that a lot of emotion, and it hit me for all the young who lost their parents. I agree. Next,
Okay.
things.
The second question. The second question is, what are 1 to 2 ways to help in gun violence?
What you think?
What I think.
Mhm.
Okay. One way. One of them is everybody coming together as one.
Mhm.
And then another way is finding a way to stop everyone from having a lot of anger about certain problems that they went through their whole life and
I
then
agree.
take it out on others.
I agree. Price said having more
I
like Let's Thrive Baltimore. All right.
I agree with I agree with what Kayla said, and I also feel like having spaces where the youth can reflect and relax and kind of like just like reflects and kind of wind down and have a place like a safe spot, sort of like the memory garden that was speaked on at the end of the video. I feel like more areas like that and more things that can kind of bring the community together can kind of help. Yeah, I'm gonna pass it to James.
I agree.
I would say some of the ways that we can bring change to the community is like how it said, as Ms. Lisa said in the video, that we need to bring more resources and help to our community, because the more resources we have, that keeps our community better, the less that they'll want to think about going to kill somebody over something crazy. Because if we go and help them be able to get their background correct, and then they're able to get jobs where they're making good money, they're not going to want to go back to that life, because why would you go back to a good life and then want to mess it up because you didn't did something crazy? They're not going to want to do that anymore. So the better, the more resources, the better there is for the community to have a successful and hopeful community. I'll pass it on to Kai.
So the third question we have is it's actually a true or false question. So the question is, true or false? Are children and adults traumatized by gun violence? I think that's true. And an example of that could be, I mean, anybody, like not even just an adult, a kid. If you just walk down the street and you see like a whole shootout, and you see somebody like die like in your face, that's gonna scar anybody, let alone an adult or like a kid, like especially a kid. If you're that young, growing up around a lot of violence, you're gonna, so I mean, you're gonna be traumatized to some extent. I'm gonna pass it to Kayla.
I say true because it's not just, it's more, to me, the kids wouldn't know so much about gun violence if they didn't grow up with certain things happening. Like, their parents shouldn't allow half of the stuff, like showing their kids how to play with guns and stuff like that. They shouldn't get in that ability to do all that. Now, Nerf guns and stuff like that, now you playing, but you don't try to do it in a harmful way. And I feel like parents should explain that to their kids. I'll pass it to James.
I can agree with that. But I'm gonna go with true. It's true that children and adults are traumatized by gun violence, because, like Kari and Kayla said, where children could just be walking down the street, and then that's when they're experiencing gun violence and being traumatized. And then also you have where the victims, which Kayla spoke on, where they were grew up playing with guns and stuff like that. That's why when my brother and them try to come over my house, I don't play that gun stuff. Like, I don't want them in that gun field. Like, you can play with the stuff, but not with me. Like, I don't allow them to do that, because I don't want them growing up that guns are the answer to your problems, when guns are not the answer to your problems. Because then that leads to a worse life for you when you could be doing something bigger and better if you didn't think guns were the answer to your problems. Courtney, did you have anything you want to add on to that question?
No.
Okay. The next question is, how does trauma affect young people? So for our audience, I would like to hear y'all opinion on how do you think trauma affect young people? And Kari and Kayla, y'all can answer as well. I'm going to answer last because I'm going to, yeah.
I feel like I feel like it affects young people in a lot of ways because like everybody's different, but I feel like it affects them kind of with like a mental scar kind of, and it makes them feel like how you were explaining earlier with your personal story about it kind of makes them feel like guns are the only answer, um, and it kind of makes them have like a I don't know the best way to explain it, but kind of how you were just saying, we make them feel like guns are the only answer. That's Kayla.
I agree with Karen because it makes them feel like they have to get payback and they never gonna. They feel like they got to be even with everybody when certain stuff happens. Go
I
ahead, Dan.
I also wanted to put in that they may react certain ways. Not everybody may react with bad behavior. They may feel alone. They may feel like they don't have anybody to help. They may feel like the way their parents were treated, that the person that person that they may be living with or anything may not give them the help that their mother would have gave them. They may really feel alone, like they're alone and nobody is there to help.
Like, I'm going to give my answer on it. It can affect their health. We divert them away from hurting someone else. But if it's addressed early, they can beat the odds. When less than you will will have a longer life expectancy, better physical and mental health, offer therapy to divert them from becoming a victim of gun violence or become the perpetrator to pulling the trigger. Addressing the type of trauma early on can save a life. So we can go on to the next question if that's everybody answers.
The next question is gun violence a traumatic event?
Do you think it is?
Um, yeah. Gun violence is a traumatic event because it is a disgusting event that happens unexpectedly. I pass it to Carter.
Gun violence is a traumatic event, and I feel like no matter how tough somebody might think they are, I mean, it's gonna be it's gonna be traumatic to you, especially if it's the first time you witness it, even if it's not like firsthand. If you like hear it, like when you're trying to go to sleep and you just hear like a bunch of like gunshots, you can't really just like ignore that or just keep living without like at least talking to somebody about it. Well, that's the James.
I agree with you, Carl.
Y'all gave some great. Gun violence is definitely a traumatic, and it's very. And I can't say how traumatic it can be to because I might not have the same feelings. Some people it might can really, really, really hurt them deep down inside. But by me having to go through situations, I can't say how somebody, I know it's a traumatic event, but I can't say how hard that traumatic event can be for someone. I'll
I
pass
think
it on.
it could be hard to the point where most children have depression. They give up.
I can agree with that because I see some people. Kari, you can go.
Oh, sorry. Uh, So the next question is, what is trauma? And to answer that kind of shortly is basic. Think of it kind of like I was mentioning earlier, mental scarring, and it's kind of long term. You're kind of like it's like being shocked, kind of, but it's more long term. And every time you think of that, whatever topic it could be, I mean, everybody has different reactions to it, but I mean, you can either get like emotional, it can be kind of in your head. You can like, it can be physical. It can be like a lot of different things. Yeah, I'm gonna pass it to James though.
I would say trauma is a disturbing or distressing event that happens unexpectedly, because as we used in examples before, that trauma, being traumatized by, you know, gun violence, or just being traumatized by anything other than gun violence, because there's different, things that cause trauma. So by just being exposed to stuff that's going to traumatize, it's just really hard for people to hold on, deal with.
Trauma. Trauma is just something that just like when you think about it, it just make you want to go in the corner and cry because it puts everyone that's going through that in a place that they don't want to be at. I pass it to Courtney.
I basically sorry.
So the next question is, what is type 2 trauma? I'll let you, and it's okay what type 2 trauma is. Please don't look up the answer to what is type 2 trauma. So do anybody on here know what type 2 trauma is?
I personally don't. I'm not really sure.
It's
All
a
right,
it's a event. Oh, go ahead.
so type 2 trauma is a trauma that occurs over and over again. We can go on to the next question if no one else has any response. Logan said, yeah, I, type 2 trauma, I heard of it. So we can go to the next question. Kayla.
Yeah, Kayla, that's you.
Oh, that's you? My bad.
Huh?
The next,
No, no, I was saying, Kayla, that's your turn.
Okay. For the next question, we'll be answering still in the same question.
It's the next question.
Okay. Why does trauma occur?
Um,
Trauma
you wanna
occur
go ahead?
because it's events that happens without a warning. I'll pass it to James.
trauma occurs because of events that you were not prepared to deal with. So, like some of the examples that lead to that we gave before is, you know, when you're not prepared for something to happen, it happens, and then you're just stuck with it. I'll pass it on to Kai.
I also feel like uh, trauma can occur. It can also count as type 2 trauma, like how you were saying earlier. It can also count as, I mean, it can occur when you feel powerless, when you feel like you can't stop what's happening in front of you, when you feel like like the only thing you can do is either run away or risk your life. Uh, yeah.
I agree. I feel like trauma occurs from being shocked of seeing something terrifying that you never have seen before. It can occur from that. Trauma can occur from death, seeing people that has passed away in their lives, losing people multiple times. Trauma can occur from something. If something has happened to you, you can have trauma. Like for instance, somebody had got shot from gun violence, and survived it, but had trauma ever since. Miss Lisa says, so true. Y'all are really touching important topics, especially because of all the trauma that has happened to Baltimore City.
the next question we have is, should an 18-year-old own a legalized gun? And I feel like the answer is no, because one, the law says you have to be at least 21 years old, and sometimes even 21-year-olds aren't really the most responsible. So depending on how responsible you are and how much, just how much responsible you are with owning a handgun, I feel like that should also be taken into consideration. I'm gonna pass it to Kayla.
I say no, because half of these 18 years old is all about violence. They not about positivity at all. I'll pass it to Jane.
I would say no. An 18-year-old should not hold have a handhold gun because most 18-year-olds they're just getting out of they're just starting their maturity age, so they're really not fully mature on yet. Well, I don't think I would. Well, I wouldn't be fully mature holding a gun, and I don't believe no other 18-year-old should have a gun at that age either.
I agree. I think they need to be more strict on how guns are getting to others and how they're giving guns to people. Be more conscious about that.
Okay, so the last question that we have for you guys today is: do you think gun violence have a effect on the youth?
What did you say? Do you think gun violence? What? I didn't get the last part.
Do you think gun violence have a huge effect on the youth in Baltimore City?
Yes, I think gun violence have a huge effect on the youth in Baltimore City. I feel as though younger youth are dying or passing away from gun violence as well. So I feel like it has a huge effect on them too, and the adults as well that they're losing in their lives because they don't have no one to guide them in the world. So instead of you know being positive, or they act out, or they don't have a way of, or they do things that a person that didn't lose anybody doesn't do because of how people that they're living with guiding them. They may not have anyone to guide them. So simple. Corey.
I agree with what you said, and I feel like another thing that also has to be taken in consideration is how frequent it happens.
Mhm.
Because I mean, it would be one thing if it was like, I mean, it wouldn't be good, but it would be one thing if it wasn't happening. Like we weren't hearing about this constantly. Like shootouts weren't constantly happening. People weren't constantly dying to gun violence. That would be one thing. But I mean, it happens so frequently. It's I mean, it's not even like a surprise that it has an effect on people.
I agree.
I'm back to Kayla.
Yes, I feel like gun violence do have a huge part in Baltimore City, because that's all everything that happens nowadays. It's never a really positive thing where people can go to parties. It's always something when you go to a party. You can never just have fun and go home and be safe. It always got to be, oh, somebody got shot or this person was fighting.
I agree. You can't go nowhere and just have fun without it being commotion. Someone in the chat said that makes sense. You become numb. Who that Wayne said, I feel like yes, because some people believe that they need a gun to survive in Baltimore. Some people have guns to protect themselves.
So gun violence does have a what was your question? Gun violence does have a huge effect on the youth in Baltimore City because 300 plus killings occurred for the last 6 years in a row. Each year, at least 55 youth under the age of 25 are killed by a firearm in Baltimore. Youth under 25 years older account for 51% of arrests for violent crimes and 49% of weapons-related arrests. More than 26,000 firearms were seized by police in recent 6.5-year span. 70% of the firearms are thought to have been used in violent crimes.
I agree.
And that's all we have for you guys tonight. If any of you are dealing with gun violence or are traumatized and need PRP resources or just different resources, you can contact Miss Lisa through Instagram. Go to the website at letsdrivebaltimore.org. And Miss Lisa, can you drop your phone number in the chat for them, please? Because I didn't have it.
Matter of fact, I could drop it in the chat.
For therapy, you can contact Miss Lisa as well.
Put her number in the chat.
Yeah, she said her 65 number, but I didn't get a chance to write it down.
Okay, I got it. 65.
Thank you, Storm Nation. She said proud to see young people out here expressing their opinions.
You said what number it is again?
The 65.
All right, then. Oh, I have two. Pearl she would have to put in the chat. She said, or go to www.letsstopbaltimore.org. Storm Nation said, proud to see you young ladies out here expressing their opinions. Thank you. If they need help, TBT, we help with that too. Brent. Y'all, thanks for watching and listening to this. This is an important topic.
Yeah, thank y'all.
Have a good night.
Thanks for joining.
And y'all doing great, Mama Lisa. Have a good night, y'all. Thank you.